Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. On behalf of Chairman Inhofe, Senator Blumenthal, please.
Thank you, Senator Reid. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for your service. You know, I've been in and out as I've attended other committee hearings, and I sort of feel like the most important facts for us and the American people to understand are the facts that haven't been said today. And the reason why they haven't been said is that they are largely classified. And the reason that's important is that the American people have no idea, really no idea, about the immensity of the threat in space. And I've made this comment in a classified setting, that I wish the American people could be present in this room, not this room, but the SCIF, because our adversaries know what they are doing. We know what they are doing. They know, we know what they are doing.
The eyes are removed, parts of the jaws are removed, inner ears are removed, tongue, inner throat removed, anal area cored out, sexual organs removed, and some intestinal and respiratory organs also removed.
Now, what I'm telling you is kind of almost like a brain overload here. The United States government lied, did not tell us anything about the alien threat. There's a war underneath there, and I'm talking dead serious. Since that time, since late August of 1979, our military, the Russian military, basically the militaries of the world, have been in constant conflict with the outer space. I killed 2 of them. Yes, they're mortal and they do die.
But the American people have no idea. And so this discussion and debate will have very little interest in the American public. It's carried on in a level of, forgive me, bureaucratic language that most Americans would have trouble seeing an immediacy in their daily lives. But if they were privy to what we hear, and you know it much better than we do.
Here in the United States, there are approximately 250,000 people abducted or missing. In the world, 2.5 to 2.7 million people are abducted or missing. Now, to ease that number back, approximately 95% of these people are found. They are runaway children, which encompasses about 70% of that number. 30,000 of that number every year are never found, ever. No man, woman, child. 30,000 is the number that disappear off the face of the earth every year. I went back to 1990. It's a lot of people, a lot of men, women, and children.
I think they'd be pretty alarmed.
The colonel hears the sergeant screaming, so he runs up over to sand dune in time to see the sergeant being drug off by his leg with something like a cable wrapped around his leg and being pulled into a saucer. 3 days later, Lovett's body shows up 415 feet from the exact spot where he was taken, from the exact drag marks. The body is identical to the mutilation of a cow. Everything is missing, just like cattle that have been reported since the early 50s.
This is not by way of criticism of you, because you're living with the strictures of what is classified and not, but I think we have a real obligation to explain to the American people why space is a domain that matters, why the threats there are real. And urgent, why they are growing in importance. So I think we all agree here that space is an important domain. Undersea warfare is an important domain, but we don't have a separate command for it. Cyber is an important domain, as my colleague and friend, the late John McCain, used to say. And so I found very persuasive, Secretary Wilson, what you said in July of 2017. I know it's been quoted to you before this morning, and others of you, the reasons for your opposition to that separate domain or the separate command for the space domain. But I would like to ask, in terms of the personnel issues that I think are of immediate concern to a lot of folks, this proposal would exempt Space Force civilian personnel from Title V rules and protections. It would create a new accepted service that is separate from the federal government competitive service or a senior executive service. It would create an alarming precedent, I think, that potentially could erode the merit-based civil service within the Pentagon and eliminate the rights of Space Force employees to participate in collective bargaining, for example. There's currently no civilian workforce that is statutorily exempt from collective bargaining rights. Can you tell me, Secretary Shanahan, why that is a part of your proposal?
The Title V that you were referencing was based on the discussion we were having earlier around integration with the NRO. That's the model that they employ there. And as we think about the talent management practices that we'll need in the future, we wanted a provision for that. Much like in your reference to the undersea domain, our approach to systems engineering is the same as the Navy's undertaken. So there are a lot of examples that we're trying to draw from that have been successful. That was the nature of that insertion.
Would there be protection for whistleblowers? same way there is throughout the rest of the government?
The baseline that we're coming off of is the existing personnel system. This was to incorporate, the ability to integrate with the NRO. So I would, I'd have to go back, sir. I'd have to go back and confirm that for you.
If you would, that would
Yeah.
be appreciated.
You bet.
Because based on this proposal, the Secretary of Defense could terminate any Space Force employee, quote, in the interests of the United States, end quote, and as drafted, it says notwithstanding any other law, which leads me to think that they would be exempted from a lot of other protections of law and could simply be dismissed whenever you determine it's in the interests of the United States.
Yeah, let me go back and confirm that that's not our interpretation.
飛機啦，
係飛機啊，係飛碟喎，
飛㗎，
飛機落出睇下啦。
我出聽。
My time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I think there are essentially, and I have a lot more, and I'm going to submit them for the record, a lot more questions than answers here. And as others have remarked, each of you has raised objections or reservations or questions in the past, the very recent past, about this idea, which I'm not sure have been fully addressed here.
Pyramid-shaped